All right, we are about to get into a conversation with the U.S. ambassador to Kenya, Mr. Kyle Carter, and we want, of course, to talk about Kenya-US relations. Swali yote yenye unataka kuuliza, 7 minutes past 8 a.m. Remember to use the hashtag VibesMVP. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Us guys are great.
We're good.
You're talking to Kwambox and Brian Mbunde.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
And of course,
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, we are so excited to have you on. So, of course, there's been a lot of, this year has been crazy. Has it been crazy for you?
Well, it's not normal for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, how would we know? You know, somebody said, how are you going to deal with this? You only been an ambassador for a year.
Yeah.
You know what? I have as much experience with COVID as anybody else.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
This is new for the whole world. And so I think, we just do the best we can. Get through it. I believe there's hope. I think we're going to get through this thing sooner than anybody thinks. There's no reason to fear it. There's good reason to have respect for it, but no reason to fear.
When COVID hit majority of the world, then even Kenya, we were starting out in terms of now shutting down flights. Did you ever think about, let's say, flying back to US at least to spend time, let's say, on that side with your family?
Well, I see my responsibility here.
Yes.
To protect American citizens, and so I think being the one that's ultimately responsible, I think I need to be here. And so I've never even thought about that. Would I like to see my grandchildren? Sure.
Yeah.
Would I like to see my mother on her 80th birthday? Yeah, I would. But I've got to do my job first.
And
people's safety is my highest priority.
Based on the current situation, how soon can normal travel from Kenya to the US? How do you feel when will be the right time that it will resume?
Well, I think here's the thing. You say normal travel. I'm not sure we're ever going to get to a normal.
Okay.
I think things are going to be different. Does that mean we have 3-4 flights a day to the United States, or we have 1 or 2? I mean, I think we have ways of getting back right now. There obviously there's not too many.
Yeah.
And it's not not that the airport's not completely publicly open.
Yeah.
But I think things will be different.
Yeah.
And we'll adapt to them.
One of the biggest conversations that's happening globally right now is the effects of COVID. And before we get to the effects, the U.S. has been at the forefront of helping African countries and countries all across the world. Could you just help us understand some of the efforts that the U.S. has been involved in the fight against COVID?
Well, let's put things into perspective real quick here. We have I think over 105 deaths. In the United States, we've had over 115,000.
Yes.
In the midst of this crisis, the United States has spent over $1 billion helping other people with COVID in the rest of the world.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't make financial sense to not take that money and put it on your own people. But the United States, I believe, and is the most generous country in the world, and really that's a shared value with Kenya. Kenya is the most generous African country.
Yeah,
and that was a study that was done, and so I think we're gonna do whatever we can to help the rest of the world. That's been over $1 billion. When it comes to Kenya, it's over 5 billion Kenyan shillings that we have been investing in equipment and testing. Training. Now, remember, a lot of this we were doing and have been doing for the last 4 decades.
Yes.
Almost 5. And so the investment that we made, for instance, in PEPFAR, if you ask anyone in Kenya, the one program they probably know something about, whether because they themselves are living healthy today or because they have a loved one that died of HIV, or is living healthy today because of the ARVs that came out of PEPFAR and the research that actually the United States paid for, but Kenyans did. So we're experiencing some of the dividends of the investment in PEPFAR, and that goes for research. That goes for the testing. The testing that 55% of all the tests for COVID today in Kenya are coming out of labs that were set up and supported by the United States. So you can't always talk about what you do today. It's what you've done in the past as well, because you have to invest in the health of a country.
Yes.
And I think Kenya has showed themselves to be different than many of the other countries in Africa. We've seen that in the fact that we've only had about 105 deaths.
Yeah.
I mean, people can't explain this. I mean, they want to blame it on some special dawa. They want to blame it on sunshine. They want to blame it on all kinds of things. But we really just don't know. But we're grateful that we're getting through it as well as we are.
Do you feel? Do you feel our response as? Of course, there's been lots of support from the U.S. from other parties that have donated to Kenya to the effort of fighting COVID. Would you say that as the U.S. the finances that you spent on Kenya, do you feel like they're being used on what it is that you donated them for?
Well, I believe what we've spent and what we've invested in has been delivered right to the people, because you have to remember, we don't write checks to the government.
Yes.
We and believe it or not, as much as some people think, I mean, we don't put wheelbarrows of cash on the street either.
Yeah.
We don't say, if you need some money, just take it. In fact, 95% of everything that we do goes through local Kenyan companies that are accountable, and we have high standards. I mean, listen, you may be able to get away with stealing some money in Kenya and not being taken to court and not having to be held accountable.
Yeah.
But you're not going to do that with the United States money, because we'll put you in jail back in the States. And so, I mean, there's a higher standard of accountability. And I always tell people, if you see United States money being wasted, if you see there's fraud, let me know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how accessible I am.
Yeah.
You send an email that says fraud, I'm reading it.
For sure.
I've got another question. We have a lot of young listeners who are listening, and they're hearing you for the first time saying, okay, in the midst of the chaos that's happening with the States with COVID, because your numbers are significantly higher than what's happening in Kenya, that you're still able to support Kenya. For the young listeners who are tuned in and trying to understand the relationship between Kenya and the States, why is it that even in the midst of your crisis that you want to help Kenya?
Well, I think we believe in the Kenyan people. We believe that we believe in the Kenyan youth.
Yes.
I mean, there's this. I mean, if you, I'm a businessman, and I'm always. I start with any business deal with what I've got.
Yes.
What have I got? Because when I first started in business, I had nothing. I had nothing but a check a commission check that I'd gotten, from a sale. Yeah. And I walked out of the company I was with. I cashed that check. I went to the bank and begged for a loan. And bought some products, sold some products, bought some, and I got started. But I had to look at what I had, and really it was myself, my wife, a few people that believed in me. I mean, Kenya has this tremendous asset of Kenyan youth that are actually quite well prepared for the future, and all they need is some opportunity. I mean, all they need is a little capital.
Yeah.
And all they need is an economy and an environment to where they can move and be creative and create things here in Kenya. And I believe that's going to happen. Yeah. And that's what I tell American companies. I say, listen, I want you to come here, because if you're one of the first American companies that comes to Kenya and invests big, you're going to have it. You're going to be able to look at this talent pool of youth, and you're going to be able to take the best workers in the world. They're right there for you. Now, if you come 5 years later, I said you may be fighting for, the few good people. Yeah. But right now, you have a great opportunity with Kenyan youth.
But it's interesting because we all see the potential. The youth see the potential. You see the potential, and I'm sure as a country, you are investing in that potential. Ensuring that like your donations are, because you want to reach the youth. But if you speak to the youth, there's still a massive unemployment. There's still lack of opportunities, and it's all because of massive corruption. So, what's your response to that? Because you see the potential.
Yeah, saying massive corruption is being nice. I think you have to quantify it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I say it this way. Mm-hmm. Every year we see about 800 billion Kenyan shillings stolen, which ironically is the same cost of the Big Four.
Yeah.
So if I'm right, and I am right about this, Kenya has a choice. Do you want to tolerate the corruption, or do you want the benefits of the Big Four that comes to the Wananchi?
Yeah.
I mean, and really, sending a polite note is not going to happen. It's not going to help. I mean, people are going to have to stand up and say, "Listen, we've had enough of this. Mm-hmm. We've gone hungry long enough. We've seen certain individuals benefit from this government long enough, and we're having a hard time eating."
Yeah.
And so I think, and I see that, I think, but you have to start with quantifying how big is the problem. That's how big the problem is.
Yeah.
But the opportunity is amazing. I'm telling you, with this free trade agreement that we have started to discuss, there is tremendous opportunity with the United States and Kenya, and that we can elevate this economy. Some people say, "Oh, we had a 4% increase in the economy." Yeah. So what? Who cares? 4%? Nobody cares about 4%. 4% is not going to make your nation great. But an economy that's 2 times, 3 times, 4 times as big will truly deliver prosperity to the Wananchi. And so I think that's why the free trade agreement is so important right now.
Yeah.
Now, we started this. A lot of people, there's some people that are not happy about this. Yeah. But I think they're really just jealous. Because the truth is, you know what? We didn't choose. We didn't choose the neighbors. We chose Kenya. We chose Kenya because of those Kenyan youth, because of the potential, because of the environment we're in. It's not a perfect environment, and we're going to have to deal with the corruption and the thievery, as I call it.
Yeah.
But the opportunity is huge, and we've put on the table. In fact, we published. We are by law have to publish what we negotiate. We put that out there. And so a lot of people have said, well, the United States wants everything in their advantage. It's about America first. Well, you know what? It is about America first, but it should also be about Kenya first.
All right.
Kenya should do what's in their best interest. We will do what is ours, and when we do it together, I think we have the potential to increase the size of this economy by 2 and 3 times.
We're going to just fast forward into, the current situation. Of course, COVID has been one of those things that has taken over, but there are other things happening in the States and Kenya. I saw you a week ago addressing the protests that happened right outside your embassy.
Right.
The protesters were protesting something that, truly Kenyans and Americans can talk about. But let's talk about Kenya, police brutality. For those who weren't able to see what you said about it, what's your message to Kenyan youth about police brutality?
Well, police brutality, wherever, it's inexcusable anywhere, whether that be in Kenya, whether that be in the United States. It's inexcusable anytime by anyone.
Yes.
And unfortunately, these are people that we have entrusted with public safety and security. And one of the things that we've been doing in just the last few weeks, we've turned over nearly 200,000 affordable masks that were produced here in Kenya. Yeah. And the majority of those are going to the police. And what we're saying is, you know what, instead of shaking somebody down for not having a mask, just give them a mask.
Yeah.
Heck, it's only 25, we did it for 25 shillings. Just give them a mask. And you know that what that will say is that the police can be trusted.
Yeah.
They should be trusted. And then when you have a real problem, you have no problem going to them.
Yeah.
And so it's a culture that has to change, and I think people look to the United States to be the leader, and unfortunately, sometimes we make some mistakes.
Yeah,
and we showed that in what happened with George Floyd. That there is no excuse for what happened.
Yeah,
And I think before you can get better, you have to admit where your problems are and where your problems lie. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to say, where are we today and how can we be better?
Yes.
And because if people are going to look to the United States as the example for doing things right, we can't allow people to do it wrong. And so I've been one of the few ambassadors in the world to stand up and say, we're not going to ignore this. We're going to deal with this, and we're going to get better.
Yes, and speaking about COVID, what's your view in terms of what Madagascar is doing in terms of their herbal cure for corona?
Well, listen, I'm not a doctor, and I don't think you want me being a doctor.
Yes.
In fact, if you need surgery, don't come to me. My father used to tell a joke. He said he could do brain surgery if somebody was dumb enough to let him. He could get it out. He just wasn't sure he could get it back in. And, so, I mean, I don't think you want me being your doctor. Now, if you want me being your accountant, I got the qualifications for that. If you want some some strategic political advice, I got 20 years of being a politician. I can do that. But I think we're going to have to go to the physicians, go to the health experts, take their guidance. Now I drink Dow every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to not take prescription medicine.
Yeah.
And I try to live healthy. And I think that's the best thing we can do is just follow the basic guidelines. Be as healthy as possible.
Yes.
Don't cough on people. Don't sneeze on people. Keep as much of a distance as you can until we get through this thing.
Yes. And
it's Corona is anti-Kenyan. I mean, really it is, because we like being close.
Okay.
We like being close together, and this is tough on us. I know it is.
Yeah. Now, your stay in Kenya, you've been here less than 1 year. What are some of those things that you can say about Kenyan people from, not as an ambassador, but as a human being? What have you seen that you like about Kenyans?
Yeah, I've been here as the ambassador for about a year, I think, and 4 months now.
Okay.
As you know, though, I came and lived in Tharaka, Nithi in 1987 to 89.
Yeah.
And built a healthcare clinic up there, lived in the bush, and I fell in love with the Kenyan people a long time ago. And then the past 10 years, I've been working up in Tharaka, Nithi as well. So I'm just very fortunate to be in this position, to be able to help even more people than I was in that small county.
Yeah.
And so I've got a obvious bias of affection to the Kenyan people.
Yes.
And sometimes people say, well, you need to fight for the United. Hey, listen, I'm proud of the United States and being a citizen of the United States, and I do operate on America first. But I think if America's going to do the right thing for its allies like Kenya, we are going to prove to be the best friend that Kenya could ever have. And that is, we treat people with respect. And you know what? We don't push them into a dependence upon foreign aid. We don't push them into a dependence upon any other person. I mean, if you care enough about the Kenyan people, you will push and you will not give up until you make them self-reliant. And I believe that. I believe that's the best gift you can ever give the Kenyan people is self-reliance. I believe they have the capacity to do it. They have the willingness to do it. And I believe it'll happen someday.
This year marks 400 years since the first enslaved Africans were actually forcibly taken from Africa. What's your thoughts and views in terms of reparations to Africa? Because when the year started, we had a whole party in Ghana celebrating and just welcoming people back to Africa. What's your views in terms of reparations to Africa?
I don't think that's really an issue to be discussed today, and it's really not one to be discussed by me. I mean, I can't speak for the whole world. I think we have to focus on what are we able to do today.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how do we look at people? Because you have to look at them in the right way. Because if you don't see them as having potential,
yes,
if you don't see them as deserving freedom, and you're not going to treat them right. And I've always said this: you'll serve people better if you love them, if you care for them.
Yes.
And if you don't care for them, go get another job.
Yeah.
And so I think, like I said, I think it's important for the Kenyan people to know that the United States is going to help them get to down that pathway. We'll walk with them to self-reliance because it's what they deserve.
Ambassador, before I let you go, I've got to talk about the China-Kenya relationship, or rather the China-US relationship. We're seeing, I mean, internationally, we're watching, we're seeing the back and forth, and you see Kenya has relations with both these countries. Will it affect Kenyans? Will this affect the relation between Kenya and the US?
Well, first of all, I think we've seen and proven that the generosity of the American people is going to be there even in the midst of crisis. Even in the midst of a discussion with another country, it's going to be there. Now, I think here's the great opportunity. The United States it's become very apparent that the United States is way too dependent on China for goods. Now we have this opportunity with the free trade agreement to actually deliver a balanced trade, because you know our trade with Kenya is very balanced. It's just not big enough. But if you look at the trade with China, it's very unbalanced. Kenya can get to a balanced trade with China by the United States investing in Kenya to produce goods that both the United States needs and Kenya needs, and we will both be less dependent upon other nations. Now, I think, you know, people talk about competition. I really reject that. I think the United States is the competition. And I think that the United States is going to make it really clear what the choice should be. I mean, I believe that Kenyan people want to work with people that love them, care for them, provide them, for instance, ventilators that have all the parts, provide them masks in a crisis that are not outdated. Provide them, provide them assistance that doesn't trap them in a debt. Provide them infrastructure projects that are not overpriced and can never be paid back. I think there's a real clear choice with the United States today.
Just as we finish, there's the question where, you know, we keep hearing about dependency, and there's a whole other conversation that's happening with Africans and African youth talking about, you know, being less reliant of foreign aid and foreign sort of meddling, and, you know, focus on investing in ourselves. When you're talking about, okay, we're supporting and we're going to make it clear that US is the best choice. Remember, we are watching the news. We're seeing what's happening in the US. What makes Kenyan Africans or black people better than the American black people that are there? Is it something that maybe as you're dealing with, you know, because you're doing trade with many African countries, is this something that maybe the US should address and say, as you're saying that you have great relations with Kenyans, prove it by, you know, also treating the black people in America fairly?
Well, no, that was a long, complicated comment, and I'm not sure it's really one that anybody can have a positive conversation about. Here, I think we chose Kenya because Kenya has the opportunity. We had others that we could go to, but we chose Kenya. That's the bottom line. And now is the time for us to take advantage of this opportunity with the free trade agreement to make the economy exponentially better and exponentially better for the people. And so I think we've got this opportunity. We'll take it. We'll get through it. Again, my vision for Kenya is this: that Kenya no longer be a country just dependent upon foreign aid. Not just a beneficiary of foreign aid, but a benefactor for the rest of East Africa, and really for the whole continent as well. And I believe this can take place because of these tremendous assets that Kenya has, like with the Kenyan youth, and a desire to work hard. And I just think we have so much potential today that we can see at some point we will see that Kenya is the shining star for democracy and prosperity for the rest of East Africa.
I like that. Thank you so much, Ambassador McCarter. We're looking forward to having more conversations with you. And thank you for taking the time this morning to speak to us.
thank you both for having me on. Have a wonderful day, and God bless you.
Thank you. You too.
That was Ambassador Kyle Carter, the U.S. ambassador to Kenya, and I'm sure you've heard what he has to say. And he says that the best thing that Kenya has is Kenyan youth.
For sure.
Hey, now ibu tuambie gava kusabina ka gava peke ndio ajuangi.
Stay with the reggae rhythm. It's the inspiration sent from the king.